Hi not board gamers, and welcome back to Not Board Gaming. I'm your host, I'm Mark, and in today's video I got a treat for you. You see, I'm going to be giving you a review of the solo mode of this game right here. It's the Old King's Crown from Eerie Idol Games, with the game design and the artwork, and the wonderful, wonderful artwork by Pablo Clarke, the game development by Pablo Clarke, Andrew McKelvey and Neo Tengwe, and then the solo mode by the one and only Richard Wilkins, Ricky Royal, and Pablo Clarke. Now, I've been following this game for probably 2+ years now, since I first saw it on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, etc. And I spoke to the guys from Eerie Idol, Pablo and Andrew, at UK Games Expo a couple of years ago, and then I got given a preview copy for the Kickstarter campaign, which came out last year, and now I picked up my copy at this year's UK Games Expo. They had a number of copies for reviewers, and then the backers' copies are going out any time now to backers. Now, I have followed this game with intent since the very beginning. Initially drawn in by the absolutely spectacular artwork by the games designer Pablo, and the artwork is beautiful. It's sublime. The artwork is utterly sublime. But then you follow it over the course of the last couple of years, and you watch the development. Pretty much like a game like Galactic Cruise, they've been very open about their development. They've worked with Leader Games on furthering the game development. Bearing in mind it's still Pablo's game, but furthering the game development, and worked with Ricky on the solo mode, which didn't exist at all when I first spoke to the guys. And what we have now is the finished product. So this is, I think, kind of the basic Kickstarter version. There is the deluxe version with some extra components like metal coins, etc., and some expansions. But this is the kind of basic Kickstarter version. So I'll say I picked it up at UK Games Expo in June. June? No, back in May. That's right, back in May, beginning of June, and eagerly got it to my table when I got back. And since I previewed this kind of a year ago, just over a year ago, etc., maybe even a bit longer than that, then there have been some development changes and some changes in the solo mode as well. The board layout's changed and there's some new mechanisms added in there, but it's become a much tighter game as well. Some streamlining that's taken effect, and honestly, you'll tell from the review, I'm absolutely in awe of this game. I think watching a game like this through development is fantastic. So what is Old King's Crown? Well, it's a 1 to 4 player game, and it's all intrigue and blind bidding. Yeah, blind bidding in solo, and it does work. Blind bidding, playing the right cards, getting the right cards, a little bit of deck construction as you potentially get new cards into your deck as well, and you're bidding for cards on the kingdom cards on the road here, and then you're going to place your heralds out on the board to try and potentially gain these 6 areas on the board and get the benefits from that, which opens up a whole world of possibilities to you. At the same time, you could put your support troops out there, but be careful, they're limited, and there are certain ways to pull them back. And it's a game that is played over, well, there's 3 versions. There's a short round, short version, which is 4 rounds, a standard version, which is 5 rounds, and an extended version, which is 6 rounds. So the game is the king has died. Oh, dear me. And you are going to be you're a potential heir who's looking to beat out your rivals, get the most law points. That's these things, not law points. Get the most influence points here, so you can win the game and become the new king of this kingdom. But along the way, it's going to be a very, very rocky journey. I'd say it's a card-based game. It's a little bit of area control, but a really minor bit of area control in terms of what it's doing. But it's mainly about playing the right cards at the right time, understanding what your opponent may be doing, counteracting that. And it's possible that in the early part of the game you could be losing quite badly, and you come up with a strategy to then work against that to come back quite strong. In fact, on my very last game that I played of it, second to last game I played of it, at the beginning of the first round, I was down 9-1. And by the end of it, it came down to the very last card turn, card turn at the end, and I lost by 1 at the end, which was just like, I was so infuriated. And that's the kind of thing that happens here. And it's intrigue, and you're constantly boosting up with these kingdom cards and trying to get these into play, and trying to occupy those, but also they can get stolen from you at the same time. Plays, I say 1 to 4 players. So obviously, with other players, you're playing against each other, but with solo, we've got this wonderful solo mode designed by Ricky Royal and Pablo called the Simulacrum. You will play more or less exactly the same as you play in a multiplayer game. The Simulacrum almost plays exactly the same, but obviously it does do some things that can't be mimicked by an automaton, and it works really, really well. And the really cool thing is there is a mode that comes with all the versions of it called the Forge. And this is a way that you can adapt the Simulacrum. You can add certain cards that are going to make it stronger, better, and you can manipulate this a myriad different ways. I think the possibilities are nigh on endless. It comes with some basic settings for the Simulacrum, but you are then going to use the Forge as you get used to the game to either reduce the difficulty, increase the difficulty, or kind of somewhere in between as well, and just change how the Simulacrum plays. But we'll come to that in a bit. So what I'll do is I'll drop you down to the table, I'll show you the artwork, give you a rough idea on how a round plays. This is not a rules teach video. I always say this, but it's not a rules teach video, so forgive me if I get a couple of minor rules wrong, but that's okay. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss my thoughts at the back end of the video. So let me take you down to the table and show you just everything that you can see with the old King's Crown from Eerie Idol Games, designed and with the artwork and rulebook by Pablo Clarke, the game development by Pablo, by Andrew McKelvey and Neo Tengway, with a solo mode design by Pablo Clarke and Richard Wilkins, yeah, the lead editor was the one and only wonderful Liz Davidson as well. Let's drop you down to the table. Okay, so here you can see it all set up kind of most of the way through a game here. Bear in mind, it's not a rules teach and the game's kind of far progressed here, okay? But this is the wonderful board that you can see, and I'll explain everything that's on this board. In the middle here is the kingdom itself, and it's divided up into 6 areas. We have the castle, the wilderness, the harvest field, the battlefield, the shrine, and the necropolis, okay? And each one, you're going to vie for this. This is the area control part of it, if you like, yeah? And they all have different things if you win that particular region there, and then you can choose which of the 2 areas that you're on the region that you win, you can go in, for example. But they're all going to give you influence, and you can see that around here. We've got 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. Then most of them have got an additional act on there as well. For example, the castle allows you to govern with a card, govern with 1 card that is active or in your hand. We'll talk about governing in a bit. The wilderness allows you to journey with 1 card that is active or in your hand. Again, we'll talk about journey. Harvest field allows you to gain the kingdom's favour, which is this thing right here, which can be very useful. The battlefield just gains you 2. The shrine allows you to move up to 3 cards that are active and or in your hand to the bottom of your deck in any order, and the necropolis allows you to shuffle your discard pile and draw up to 3 cards. You may then discard any number of cards from your hand. Sound like very basic actions, but in reality they're really, really powerful and meaningful. Let me just zoom into them. And there you can see the kind of middle of the board in all its glory. And you can see that the artwork absolutely flows through. And again, I can't stress it enough. You know, the game is absolutely beautiful. But of course, a game does not rely on artwork alone. Okay, so that's kind of the middle of the board there. These are the areas that you're going to be vying for. But there's processes that you have to go through before you get. The game is played in a number of rounds, and you're going to track your rounds down here at the bottom of the board, okay? And these rounds are kind of split up into a number of phases within the rounds, and call the rounds years because within those phases there are certain seasons as well. How do you keep track on everything? Well, we've got this lovely marker which allows you to follow everything through in order as you go through and follow the flow of the game. Start up at the top, it says to draw cards, okay? So at the start here, you're going to draw your cards. You have a hand limit on your cards, and we'll come to how the player boards work in a bit. Then you're going to determine player order, and that's the person that's got the most influence is going to be the first player. You can see that it's the Simulacrum that's got that there. So you can move that onto there. Here in spring is where you're going to place your bids, okay? And how do you bid? Well, you're going to bid a card that's got a value on there. The simulacrum, and obviously if it's other players, they're going to bid cards as well. The simulacrum has a number of tokens. We can see them here, and they're going to put those tokens down as their particular bid, and you're not going to know what token they're putting down, so you're kind of bidding against them. Obviously, the more you play, you'll understand that, hey, they seem to play quite a lot of high tokens right now, so I may stand a chance of winning this particular bid by placing a low one. Okay, so you place your bids. Then you're going to resolve your bids. Okay, so the person with the highest bid gets to do a number of things. First of all, nice and easy. Well, person with the highest bid gets to go first, should I say, and then the person whoever's got the next highest bid will go second. La da da. Obviously, in a solo game with a simulacrum, there's only two of you. The easiest thing that you can do is, you don't want to bid. You just take your card back into your hand. Cards are really bloody precious. Okay. There is a penalty if you go through your deck, okay? The second thing that you can do is you can get one of these kingdom cards. Now, there are always 4 on display. There's a big stack there, okay? And these have game-bending and game-changing rules on them. So, for example, this one here, it says, the ruined capital, and look at the artwork on there again. Discard your bidding card, place this card on a region. All opponents' total strength in this region is halved, rounded up, and then in winter time, you would discard this card. For example, this one says, this is the Midnight Court. It says, discard your bidding card, place this card into a region, govern with one of your active cards in this region. Ah, these are all the kind of discards, aren't they? Yeah, let's look at this one here. Okay, this has got a daytime action. See that little sun? It means you can do this in the daytime part. Move any number of your supporters in the current region to either another unresolved region or back to your supply. So these are game changing, and you're going to cycle through those. So the bidder can actually, as I say, whoever's going first or second, get to take the card back into your hand. Really important. You get to buy a card from the a kingdom card from the road, or you can steal one of these that another player already occupies on their board, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And you can steal cards from each other. So somebody might have a really good card. You can go in there and you can steal that card. So that's kind of in the springtime. Then you're going to place your heralds. That's these guys here, all right? So this is kind of your indication of the region that you want the most. Now you could use it as a ploy, as a bidding, as a kind of red herring to make people think that you're wanting one particular area, but you're looking for another. And you place them in an area, right? Each one is a region, and each of these regions has 2 areas in them. You place them in there, right? Okay. And what that means, if you win that area and you choose that region, if you win that area, you choose that region where your herald is, then you get to get influence on top of that. All right. Okay. So you get to place your heralds, and then you get to place your cards, and each faction has its own set of cards. You see, there are 4 factions, and each faction is wonderfully asymmetrical. Some are more geared to kind of combat, some are more geared to moving around the board, etc. But let's just look at the artwork on there. Okay, when you place your cards on the board, you're going to place them in, so you'll have a hand of whatever your hand limit is, and we'll talk about that in a second when we talk about the player boards. You're going to place them here. In a obviously multiplayer game, you're going to place them face down. You'll know the cards that you're going to place, and you're going to place your cards there. The simulacrum is going to do a slightly different thing, and we'll talk about how he works in a bit. Then you get to do your spring actions. So if you see anything that's got this little spring logo on it, it means you can do it. One of the things you can do is you can take supporters, and they're going to add strength into that region, okay? And the strength will be added onto whatever it says on this card. So that's got an 8 in there. That would be a strength of 9 in there, okay? So you've done that. Then you're going to move on to the summer. And in summer, you're going to place the clash markers. This is the order that you want to place the clashes in. This can be really, really important. Now, whoever is last in turn order gets to place these clashes. And you can place them, in whatever order you want. You want to do 1, 2, 3 that way, whatever you want. Say the turn order can be a really strategic and tactical way of doing that. Then you're going to resolve the clashes, you're going to turn the cards over and add strength up. Carry out any daytime actions that's got this little sun symbol on it. Any nighttime actions, it can be really bad. Tally the total strength, declare the outcome, and the winner gets the rewards. All right, so you'll do that for all of the clashes. You do it one by one, so then you'll turn it over, and that's done, and that's done. Then we come down into autumn. You get to take any autumn actions that you've got. So you've got a little kind of autumn leaf on there. Okay, but you can also govern with 1 card from your hand. This means you would put a a card in one of these councils, and these can have various things for you. So for example, the Council of Relics says when resolving your herald reward for each of your little hammers that you've got, let's have a look at those, the only cards that got them. Yep, there we go. So if you look here, you can see these cards got little symbols on there. That's got there, that means it's got a strength of 1. So for each of the 1 you've got in there that you discard from there, you would gain an additional influence. These 2 are autumn actions, so we have a Council of Secrets. You're going to place the faction markers on 1 or more locations equal to the number of the little hammers that you've got there. Then, if a location marker has 4 or more of your markers, remove them, claim the location reward, and ignore the influence on there. So these are the location rewards. And then we have the Council of Oaths here, which says, for each little hammer that you have here, move 1 supporter from the map and or lost pile to your player boards. Right. When you use your supporters, you start with 5 of them. When you use them at the end of the round, they're going to go into the lost pile. There are ways to get them back, but this is a good way to get them back, all right? So you can move 1 from the map to your lost pile and or lost pile to your player board, which is a really good way of getting them back, obviously. If you have the most hammers here, you may move an additional supporter. So governing is really, really, really important, okay? You can journey with 1 card from your hand. What is journeying? Well, one of the other symbols on here is law. We see this here, okay? That's this one here. Journeying means you generally discard the card unless it's a pathfinder, then it goes back into your hand, and you're going to take one of these law tokens, okay? And that's these things here. Why are they important? You see, each faction has what's called a site of power, and you have a number of cards in here, and you get to buy them for the law cost up there. These are generally better cards. This is the kind of, as I say, deck construction in a way. You want to try and get these as much as possible because they can really have some game-changing, game-bending rules on there, and that's why journeying is important. And of course, you would then activate any of your autumn actions, which says there is the little autumn symbol. Then you move on to winter, and that's any winter effects. You move the round forward. You take everything back, all of your supporters go into your lost pile, your cards get discarded, okay, apart from one particular card, I think it is, it's let's see if we can find it, here we go, this one here, there may be others in there, but you've all got one of these cards which says Rally Self. Rally means bring it back into your hand so it doesn't get discarded, and then you start all over again. So that's the layout of the board and kind of how the flow of the game works there. But let's take you down to the player boards and I'll show you what's on a player board. Okay, so here you can see the green player board here. Each faction has its own name, but let's call these green. These are pretty good at being mobile around the map. And as I say, I'm quite a way through the game here, okay? So let's kind of talk about what we got here and here. So here is your deck of cards. This is your kind of your mainstay of your game. And each round, you're going to draw up to your hand limit. The game will start with 6. Which is great. However, every time you go through that deck and you need to reshuffle, you go through something called attrition, which means you turn that counter down. So the next time you draw up to your hand size, it's going to be 5. If you're cycling through your deck a lot, that's going to go down to 4 eventually, and 3, etc. So it can be really, really difficult. But you can see there are ways that you maybe be able to get it up to 8 as well, okay? So that's your kind of draw pile here. Here is the discard pile, right? Over here is my lost pile. So these are cards that I've had to lose through journeying or through doing other things, etc. Maybe they've been eliminated and they're lost. Occasional ways to get those back. Here's my site of power that I told you about. These are the cards you can buy with law. And you can see here as well that I've also got some cards on here. First of all, I've got a kingdom card from the road here, okay? And it says here, the boatman, in the spring action, swap a card in your hand with one of your cards from your lost pile. That means I can start getting these cards back. That's a really good way. And I've occupied that. I've won that card at some point, so I've occupied it with a 6. That card is locked in there now, unless that is stolen from me. How is it stolen? Well, remember that back in the resolve bids phase, you can steal cards. If somebody comes along and wants to steal and has played a bid card that is a higher value than that, they can choose to steal that card from me. So that would go onto their player board. They would occupy it with that bid card. That would go back into my hand, okay? So you can see there's a space for 2 of them. So there is the ability to cycle. When you've occupied it, that card is locked up until it's unoccupied. Then that goes back into your discard pile there. Okay, so that's those cards there. Here I've got a little card that I've unlocked from my Site of Power, which says a New Haven's Harbour. All of my cards without, I think it's shield, now gain shield, it's not shield, can't remember what that is, gain that. And in the spring, I can move up to 2 of my supporters from the lost pile to my region. So I get to get these back by having this card as well, which is really, really good way. As I say, the green faction likes mobility. There's the discard pile, lost pile. That's kind of the cards on there that you see. Now you can see there's a space for my herald, and a space for my supporters as well. Down here we got some faction specific traits. These are generally kind of one use or number of use actions, and then when they're done you would flip them over. There are ways to get them unflipped, all right? Some of them will have set up like this one. So this one says set up, place 3 faction markers here, and I can remove a card from here, choose one of my active, any of those kind of, sorry, I've got my fingernail growing back there from when I had my accident. Any of these active icons, cards with these active cards with these icons in the current region, it gains a summertime action, which is flank for the rest of the round. When all are remarked here, all markers are removed, resolve that tactic. See, I've got a couple that are unused as well at this point. All right, so we have this as an autumn action. I can choose any number of your faction cards that are active and are in your discard pile and move them in, to your hand up to my hand size. So each one's got their own, as I say, their own traits down there as well. That's pretty much the player board there. So you can see there's a lot can go on the player board. Now, I'll take you over to the simulacrum and I'll show you the solo player, the simulacrum's board for the solo. So here we've got the simulacrum's board. You can see it's quite different to yours. And why is it different? Well, it's mainly down to these cards here. These dictate what it's going to do on its turn, how it's going to move places, what potential schemes are going to be in place, and what potential bad things can happen to you as well, because it's going to issue a threat as well. It does have a deck of cards, it doesn't have a hand size, okay? It's just going to draw cards from there up to the certain amount. And you will see on here as well that there are different symbols. Some are like a gold moon, some are silver, and some are bronze. That's its priority. When it's going to place cards on the board, its first priority will be the gold card that you draw. The next one will be the silver card, and then the bronze card. You can see it's got its little simulacrum herald there, okay? I think, again, you can get the kind of blinged out version, which will give you a one that's not cardboard. You can see it's got a couple of kingdom cards. Doesn't do anything with them, but it steals them from you. It will get rewards based on an icon that's on there each turn as well. So it's kind of key part of the game is to stop it getting those rewards, because those rewards will be different depending on the icon that's on the card, which is these here, and you want to keep on top of that as well. Over here is its discard pile. It doesn't have attrition, okay? And here are its supporters. Generally going to start each round with a minimum of 3. It will probably get more and can start the round with more as well. And it's got its Kingdom's Favour. I didn't talk about that on the green board, okay? Kingdom's Favour is different for each one, and it's got its particular uses there for that. But talk about the Kingdom's Favour here. Just go back to the green card, all right? So if I've got this token, you see it's got 3 uses, and this will switch between the pair of us, right? This says if I use it once as a summer action, I can move my herald to a location in the current region and move up to 2 supporters from other regions to the current region. Once I've done that, I would turn that there. But this will go back and forth and maybe back onto the board as well. This is slightly different as well. It says when revealing a new threat during the start of the year, reveal an additional threat. You see, what is threat? It has threat in the form of these fog cards. On the back you have the fog, and on the other side you have the threats themselves. There are a number of these, and you're going to choose 6 of them, I think. 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 6 of them each. You're not going to choose, you're going to randomly choose 6 of them. This is going to give you a threat that it's going to do. So this says the player may not activate any ambush or flank commands in regions with fog, and it tells you how many fog you're going to place on the board. Well, how would you place that? Well, you're going to do it when you reveal its scheme card, when that works. And you can see they're all different. For example, this one says for regions with fog, if the first clash is declared as a win, for the player, treat it as a tight clash and begin a new clash. That can really kind of screw things up for you there, definitely, okay? So that's the fog deck, and that's what that would do there. Here we got its ambition deck, and this is kind of where it's going to place its priority order, if you like, of where it's going to place its cards when it places them on the board. You see this one, it says Highlands there. It's going to place it on Highlands first, then Plateau, and then Lowlands. So that's going to be its kind of lead suit for the game. It's got a little tiebreaker arrow here. This helps choosing various things on the board. But you can see as you go through these that some of them have also got this here, which says it's going to attempt to steal, and this is in the bid phase. So it will try and steal your cards from you as well at the same time. All right, and I think, is it in this one? One sec, these are all Plateau, Badlands. Yeah, these are all, gives you an indication on the back of the cards exactly what's going to be its kind of lead suit on those cards. Well, not an indication, it absolutely tells you. So you get a rough idea, pretty much like you would with another player. It gives you an indication of where it's going to go. But you've also got the scheme deck on here, okay? And this is about where it's going to place its supporters. If it's only got one supporter icon there, then it's going to place all its supporters on there. However, as you can see, sometimes it's going to place them in different places. But if you go back to this one of these fog cards, okay, this says here that it's got these two fog symbols at the bottom. That means when you flip over its scheme card, you're going to place two fog cards face down in the order there. So that would place one in the Lowlands, boom, and one in the Highlands. There we go. And that's how fog is affected in the game. So you can see it's kind of a natty way of doing it as well. Over here, we have its own site of power, basically. Okay, now what happens is anytime it collects 2 lore, it's going to take the top card from here and add it to its deck. It's generally going to collect these at a minimum rate of 1 per round as well. So you know it's going to really try and cycle through those as well. And then in the winter action, it says if there are no more cards here, no more cards in its site of power, the simulacrum removes 2 from these. Okay, and it gains an influence and it will repeat the process if possible. So there are ways that it can get more than that as well. So that's how it plays ever so slightly different to you as well. It will do things up here with the council, but that's how the simulacrum works. So that's kind of a brief overview of the game there itself. So what I'll do is I'll drop you down to this part of the table. I'm not going to spread it wide and show you too much because I just want to give you a quick run through of a round solo of what happens in Old King's Crown. Okay, so it may feel like there's quite a lot of rules to go through. However, don't worry, the game's got you covered in the form of some player guides, all right? So it's got the sequence of play, it's got how you resolve clashes, it's got additional concepts about traits, other icons, councils, sites of power, kingdom's favour, attrition, etc. Actions, effects and commands on there as well, because there are some keywords in there and various actions and effects that take place. But also, for the simulacrum, it's got its own sequence of play here, step-by-step sequence of play, going through start of the year, spring, summer, autumn and winter, and then also kind of how it gets its bonuses and rewards as well at the same time. So we start off here at the top. Now you can see it says draw cards. I'm going to draw it to my hand size. My card that's got my number 10 card has already come back to my hand. My hand size is 5 because I've already gone through attrition, so I'm going to draw another 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simulacrum does not have a hand, okay? So what it's going to do is it's going to draw a threat card. So, as I say, its threat cards are going to be these cards here, all right? So we'll shuffle those, and you flip over that, and that's going to be its primary... It's the worst one. For each region with fog, if the first clash is declared as a win for the player, for me, treat it as a tied clash and a new clash will begin. It's going to put 2 fog down. So that goes onto its board in the principal threat area. Okay, that's nice and easy. That's the first bit done just there. So then we're going to determine turn order. Turn order is by who's got the most influence. I know they've got the most influence. They're winning me by 4 or 5, I think, at the moment. Yeah, they're winning me. They're going to go first and I'm going to go second. Now, a nice little addition is at the beginning of the game, you're going to take a random one of their bid tokens, and you don't know what number it is, and that's going to act as their player token. All right, so this first player token then goes over to the simulacrum. We know they are first player. That's the beginning setup bit done there. Okay, now we're going to place bids. So remember, placing bids, it's about stealing cards, it's about potentially just getting a card back into your hand, or it's about getting new cards from the road up there. So let's say I want to discard my bidding card, place this card in a region, move any number of your supporters. I quite like that one. That's a good one to get there, basically. So I'm thinking I'm going to want to get that card. And I look at what number I can bid with here. Okay, I've got a 10, I've got a 5, I've got an 8, a 0 and a 5. Man, okay. So we're going to try and bid with, let's bid with an 8, all right? I'll play this open, okay? Now, what the simulacrum is going to do is they are going to place the bid with the top token of its pile, which is this one here. I don't know what this is. Okay, we're going to place that there. Then we're going to resolve the bid, okay? So what we're going to do is we are going to reveal the bids. Here we go. And we got this here. Oh, it's got a 12. Got a 12 against my 8. What's it going to do now? Well, it's got a number of actions, and this is where you reveal the top card of its ambition deck. Okay? Whew. This is good. Okay, thankfully. All right. So if this had got that on the bottom of it, it would have stolen my one and only kingdom card, but it hasn't. All right. So it tells me here that it's going to try to have a look. It's going to take a kingdom card if it can from the top up here, and it's going to look for one with its primary suit, which is going to be the clash up here. So that isn't clash, that isn't clash, that's clash. It's going to take that particular card. If there were two of them, all right, it would take either the left, or if the arrow's pointing the other way, the right hand one. So it's going to take that card and it's going to occupy it on its board. Its board is already full. I don't know if you can see that from here, but its board is already full. Again, use the arrow to say which card it's going to discard. It's going to discard its left hand card, so that kingdom card gets discarded. Its bid token goes into its bid discard pile. That goes onto there, and that goes onto there and occupies it now. So that is now occupied. Phew, okay, well that's not too bad. Didn't take the card I wanted, but now I do want a card. So do I want to take that back into my hand? I mean, the smart money would be yes, because let's see, as a summertime action, did say I can move any number of my supporters in the current region to either another unresolved region or my supply. I could try and steal a card. Unfortunately, it's occupied a 12 and an 8, and my number is 8. Therefore, I'm not greater than 12, obviously, and it's the same as 8, so it has to be greater for me to steal a card. So, yeah, let's just take a card and occupy it, right? So we're going to take this card, goes into my kingdom card slot on my board, and then I'm going to occupy it, and I've lost that card now until I unoccupy that. But it's giving me an additional daytime action. Great, fantastic. What's going to happen now then is going to refresh the road here. Because somebody's taken a card, we're going to remove the right hand card, slide that up, and we're going to reveal 4 new cards on there. If nobody had taken a card from there, then you dismiss the 2 right hand cards and then fill that. So you can see that's a constant way of that happening. Right, that's the bids resolved now. Okay, so now we're going to place the heralds. Okay, woohoo! So move that over there, and we're going to place heralds. He's got the first player token. No, they have got the first player token. All right. And we know, if we go back to its ambition card here, that it's going to place it in the plateau. That's the top one there. So they're going to place their herald in the plateau. But where? Because the plateau has got 2 things in there. Well, you follow the arrow, don't you? So that's going to try and steal the kingdom's favour in there. All right? So now I'm going to place my herald as well. Well, maybe I want that as well. I quite like the idea of that kingdom's favour. I could gain 2 here. I could journey. No, I'm going to place my herald there as well. We're going to have a fight, you see. His herald's there, my herald's there. Whoever wins that also, as well as if they choose that area getting an influence, it's going to steal an influence from the other player as well. So that becomes hotly contested there. Then it says to place cards, okay? So here's where, again, we look at these ambition cards about what it's going to do and the order it's going to place. Plateau first, then the lowlands, and then the highlands. So you're going to draw 3 cards. 1, 2, there's only 3 left in there. All right, and then you're going to sort them in the order. Now, unfortunately, we've got all 3 cards here. So we know that the strongest is the gold one, the medium is the silver, and the least strong is the bronze. And we're going to follow this here, which says plateau for the gold one. Okay. We're going to place silver in lowlands, and that means that its bronze one is going in the highlands, right? You can put those face down. We don't know what they're going to be. Now it's my turn to place cards, okay? So, right. Well, what have I got? Yeah, that should be back on my board, shouldn't it, basically? Okay, so let's see what I've got. I really want this, okay? So I'm going to place a 10 in there. I'll put that face down. Then I've got 2 5s and a 0, okay? Well, I know I'm going to go second. Okay, we're going to put that one up there, and we are going to put this one down here, okay? Fantastic, brilliant. Now it's time to place your supporters, okay? What happens here? Well, for the simulacrum, this is where we turn over the scheme card and we have a look. And it says here it's going to place all of its supporters in the plateau. It's got 3 supporters on its board. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God. So it's really gunning for that there. Look at that. Okay, supporters are in a region, all right? So that's going to cover that entire region. I'm going to place my supporters, my 1 supporter in that region as well. However, when we reveal this, we're also going to reveal, we're also going to look at the threat card. Remember, the threat card says it's going to put fog in 2 places as well. All right, so this kind of keeps you guessing. All right, and it's going to put fog in the plateau, and it's going to put them in the lowlands. If there were 3 on there, it would put them in all 3. If there's only 1, it would put it in the primary one. So great, we know that if in that particular area, if I win that first clash, my God, I've then got to do another clash. This does not bode well for me for winning that. All right. So sorry, I should move that down to spring action steps. 1 second. So that should be on spring action steps. Now, if they've got any more spring actions, they would then carry out those spring actions. If I've got any more spring actions, I would carry out any spring actions. Well, look at this. I've got this here. So swap a card in your hand with one of the cards in your lost pile. I've got this 5 left here. All right. So what have I got in my lost pile? I've got a 0. I've got a 7. I've got a 9. So I am literally going to swap that card for that, because if I've got a second clash here, then boy, do I need that. So that's it for spring. Okay. Then we got summer. Okay, they shouldn't be on there for now. Then we got summer. And you're going to place the clash markers. It's whoever's in last place. I'm in last place, so I get to choose the clashes first. All right, I can look back at my cards and see what I put on there. And yeah, okay. Oh man, oh, that doesn't work because of that now. Okay, well, let's just do that. Right, okay. Let's 1, 2, and 3. Let's do it in order. No, let's save that one till the end. All right. Trust me, there are strategic reasons why you might want to do that. So place the clash markers. Then we're going to resolve clashes. Okay. So when we look at resolving clashes, you do it in the order that you place the markers down. We'll turn over my card in there. I put a 5 in there. Okay. It's got a daytime action of flank, and I'll explain what that is in a second. We'll turn their card over, and it's got a 3. Fantastic, brilliant, great. All right, so I've got a daytime action, which is flank, which means I can move that card to any other region that's not been resolved as of yet. If all regions have been resolved, you can't use flank. All right, and that would give me an additional card on there. Because I know what's happening here, that if I win that, that first clash is done. Me moving that there for the first clash is pointless. So I may as well take the win here. Fantastic. So I could do either a castle or I could do a wilderness. All right. Well, let's. I should have that. What we got here? Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. We're going to govern. All right. So I'm going to do here. So you're going to give me an influence, right? So we got that, and I'm going to govern with a card that's active or in my hand. Which is going to be this one. It's my active card, and I'm going to put it up here. All right, and that says if I win any of the clashes, I can discard that to gain extra influence if it's got a hammer on there. Perfect, that gives me something to do, basically. All right, so I won that, fantastic, not too much there. There was a daytime action I could have used with no nighttime actions. Total strength, he had 3, I had 5, fairly simple on there. Then, so we turn that over, then we move to clash number 2 down here. We turn over my card, which is a 0. Which is kind of pointless now. It's got a rally on there, and I was going to bring a card back to my hand. And what have they got? They've got an 8. All right, so they definitely won down here. Brilliant. So what are they going to do? Well, they are going to choose the left one here, but they're going to operate in a slightly different way. And how do they operate? Well, we look here on their sheet. It says that if it wins the shrine, which is this one that's winning here, it's going to gain 1 influence. Okay, bang. It's going to discard 2 cards from the top of their deck and or hand, and if unable, then I suffer attrition. Well, it's got 1 card on its deck. Great. So I'm going to suffer attrition. That means my next hand size is going to be 4. That is evil. That is evil. That is not a good one to lose there. All right. The fog didn't matter because I didn't win a clash there. That won a clash there. That is over. Right. Oh my God. Here we go. We're gonna play this one now. Okay. Right. This first clash is going to be pointless. If I win, it doesn't matter. If I lose, I've lost. I have to win to stay in the game. Or maybe the flank would have helped. Oh man, that flank would have helped. Let's pull that back. Let's put that flank there because I've got to win this. I've got to win to stay in the game. So I'm not doing that. I'm not putting it in to govern, but you can see what happened on govern. I'm keeping it here. All right. So we'll turn mine over. I know I've got 15. Oh, by the way, yeah, it can only be used once the flank. So I couldn't flank again with that card. Couldn't anyway, basically. So I've got 10, 15, 16 here. Okay. It has got... oh, it's got 6, which is great, which means it's got 7, 8, 9. So I've definitely won, haven't I? No. Daytime actions. Do I have any daytime actions? I have no daytime actions available. Oh my God. Do I have nighttime actions? It's got a nighttime action. And that nighttime action it's got... You can see that down there. It's deadly. What does deadly do? It kills my cards. Unless they've got a shield on there. None of my cards have got shields on them. Right? They're both Pathfinder cards, which means they don't go to my lost pile. They're not eliminated that way. But what that means is they're gone. They go into my discard. Oh my God. It's won that clash. It's won that clash. We know it's going to go to the right hand side. Yeah, you can see that there. So it's the left hand side. So it's going to get at the harvest field. What does it say? It's going to gain an influence. And the kingdom's favour. And if it already has a kingdom's favour, it gains an additional influence. Well, it's not. It's going to take that, right? It's going to put that over there. And it would have that for the next round. Wow, it's really won. However, what happens if that wasn't the case, right? So let's go back here and let's just ignore that. Let's say it was that way around, okay? So let's just say, right, and I had won that clash, all right? Or if it was a tie. So I've got 15, 16, that had got 8, 9, 10, 11. So I definitely won that clash, say, if that card was that way. However, as it says here, for each region with fog, if the first clash is declared as a win, for the player, treat it as a tie clash and begin a new clash. So what would I do? Those cards wouldn't really count anymore now, okay? I would then play another card from my hand. My hand size was down. I was down at 5 instead of 6, all right? We know I've got this 1 card left that I swapped from the lost pile. It would also play a card face down and a new clash would begin, but nothing else would count. We're talking just about the cards now. Anything else that's gone before doesn't matter there. All right, so it's just about the cards. And we flip that over. I got a 9. It's got a 1. Phew, yes, but it has a daytime action. I don't have any daytime actions. It has a daytime action. It says, if this card is active in the current region, the simulacrum draws the top 2 cards of its deck face down, then plays the highest tier card face down next to the region. The other card is discarded. If they are tied in tier, the first card shown is there. So it's going to stack it effectively for the next round. So it would choose 2 new cards, choose the highest tier, gold, silver, put it in next to the region. That would be there, ready for the next clash. But I won that. Fantastic. Excellent. Brilliant. Okay, so that would mean that, first of all, I would get an influence for my herald. Well, I'm going to choose this action here, which is Harvest Field, of course. Imagine that the kingdom's favour is still there. I would get that because I'm choosing the action where my herald is. I could have chosen that action if I wanted to, but I'm getting that. And because he's there as well, I'm also going to steal an influence from them. Fantastic. Then I get another one for what's on there, and then I get to take the kingdom's favour. If he'd already got it, I would have stolen it from him, but because that should have been on there, I get to get that back and I get my kingdom's favour. That's it. That's clashes resolved there. Phew. Well, didn't really go my way though, did it? I lost terribly in reality. So then we move down to autumn, okay? And we follow it in the sequence itself. And this is quite important for the simulacrum, all right? You follow the simulacrum order in sequence. First of all, it's going to activate any autumn actions that it has. Doesn't have any on its board. I'm okay on there, okay? Then it's going to govern, right? So it's going to place one of these from the reserve, okay, on the council that matches the highest priority suit on the current ambition card. So we go back here, and we know that it's got the plateau, the clash icon, should I say, the battle icon, is the highest priority. And we look here, and you can see that we've got here. So it's going to place it onto there. Perfect. All right. Then it resolves the Council of Secrets. It doesn't have any influence on there. That's fine. Then it resolves the Council of Oaths, and this says here for the Council of Oaths on the back here, for each influence on the Council of Oaths, the simulacrum moves one supporter from the lost pile to its simulacrum board, and if it has the most in this council, it moves an additional one. Well, it does. I don't have any cards there. This is how it seeds more supporters for the next round if it's got in there. Now, you want to kind of tackle that and try and fight that and try and stop it being on there as well, yeah? Then it journeys, right? So it gains a law. Remember, every time it's got 2 law, it's going to substitute them for the top card of its site of power, and this is the final card it's got in its site of power here. This goes to the top of its deck. It's a 13. Wow. Okay, fine. I get to do any autumn actions. Well, I've got a couple I could do. So I've got these on my traits that are unused as of yet. I can choose any number of my faction cards that are active and or in my discard pile and move them to my hand. So I could start claiming cards back from my discard pile or on the board or to my hand size. I can claim that back if I wanted to. Fantastic. Or I can move an opponent's occupied kingdom card to my player board and occupy it with a card from my hand. I don't have any cards from my hand. I mean, I could do that one first, then do that one, of course, yeah? So I would do my autumn actions, okay? I could govern. I could put a card in the council, or I could journey. Remember what I said about journeying is I could effectively take a card that's in my hand, that's got these symbols, put it into my lost pile, and get that many law tokens back, all right? Then we're going to move into winter, so anything that's got winter effects would take effect here. And then we're going to move the round track up. Oh, I forgot to talk about what it does with these right back here in the bid stage. Remember I said it's got these kingdom cards and it doesn't activate what's on there, but it will get rewards from them, all right? And we're looking at these symbols here. So if you look here, this has got 2 clash symbols. It should have got another support token from the lost pile to its simulacrum board twice because these are clash tokens, right? So it should have had another 2 2 supporters to put in there at the end of the bid phase, all right? And then we move the round token up, and that would be it. That would be how you play a round against the simulacrum in the Old King's Crown from Eerie Idol Games. Mean, unfair, treacherous, double-crossing, all of these things my kids say about me when I tell them to tidy their bedrooms, and most of them can be said about the Old King's Crown. This is a game which, just when you think you got it sussed, you think you're on a path to victory, you then have to readjust and change your strategy, because everything in this game is about upsetting the norm, and it's a key component of the game itself in the way that, you know, your cards, the kingdom cards, the day actions, the night actions, the traits, the kingdom's favour, the asymmetry. It's all about taking this rule set and twisting it and manipulating it into a constantly dynamic battlefield where this tug of war kind of goes on. It is entirely possible that you start the game bad and you win the game. It's also entirely possible that you take this massive lead and you lose the game as well, because your strategy turns on a dime, and that's what I really like about this game. I think it's a game where you have to know the gaming group who you are playing with. Why? There's a lot to take in, a lot of information you're going to have to keep on top of. You've got your own cards, you've got your own board with the kingdom cards on there. You've got your traits, you've got your site of power, you've got the council up here, but you'll also have an idea of what your opponents are playing as well. Bear in mind that all factions are asymmetrical, but what your opponents are playing, what kingdom cards they've got on there, and certainly in the case of the simulacrum, kind of potentially what cards have come out, what cards could come out, what have they played, what's left in their site of power, how strong is their next play going to be, have they played that deadly card yet, the one that eliminates things. My god. Yeah, and don't worry, your deck has deadly cards as well. So it is a game where you will have to be on top of a lot of information, and your propensity of doing that is possibly going to detail how much you're going to enjoy the game. I think it's fantastic. I thought it was fantastic from the very first moment I played it. I was demoed it at kind of 4 players, and then I played the solo mode in its development, and now the final copy of it here. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. It is a game where if you get the right gaming group together, then you are going to have this wonderful battle of wits and strategy and duping and subterfuge, etc. It can, I think, with multiple players, potentially lead to some analysis paralysis. Completely understandable, given the amount of information and the amount of things that you're doing here. Obviously less so with the simulacrum, because it doesn't really matter. You're playing a solo game, all right? You can take as much time as you want. That is going to do what's on the cards there, basically. So obviously less with the solo gamer, with the solo player. It is a game which demands kind of repeated plays as well. Your first couple of plays are probably going to be getting to grips with the rules, understanding the flow of the game, understanding what the simulacrum does. As you see in my rush to teach you this, I missed out the core bit about, the simulacrum getting the rewards from the kingdom cards that it's got. So it is easy to kind of skip over those rules. To help you, it's got some handy player aids, okay? And these kind of cover everything that more or less everything that you need on there. You've got the simulacrum one, and then you've got the ones for the standard play as well. Now, there are only 3 of these. There isn't enough for each player. I'm sure people will come up with stuff on BGG, but given the wealth of information, these have to be this size, and you don't want to have 12 copies. I don't know, 12, but it'd be 8 copies of these basically, and then 1 copy of that in the game itself. It's easy enough to pass around if you want to laminate them. I'm sure people were doing wonderful things on BGG. So you do have the player aids, but to help you more so, I think, are the 2 fabulous rule books that you get with the game. So we look at the main rule book, okay? It's if you look at the core rules, it is some 40. Here we go to the end of the game. I think that's still clarifications. That's traits. So if you're looking at to the winning the game, it's 34 pages long. There's an additional kind of 16 pages of additional rules, clarifications, keywords, traits, the differences between the factions there. So you have the uprising, if you enjoy a play style that favours scheming, the gathering, if you enjoy a play style that favours card manipulation, you have the nobility, if you enjoy a playstyle that favours potent defence, and you have the clans, which is the green one we saw, if you enjoy a playstyle that favours mobility, momentum and overwhelming force. So I will say this about the rulebook: it looks like a lot of information, and there is a lot of information taken in the game. It is fantastically well laid out. I mean, really, really, really well laid out. It kind of covers everything. They've really thought about this as they go through the rulebook, taking you through everything from what each card does, and then you go into the setup and the sequence of play and really breaking it down and giving you some absolutely fantastic examples. There are keywords at the back as well. Once you've played it a couple of times, in reality, it all becomes a little bit second nature. Now, when it comes to the solo, as you know, the solo obviously operates in a very different way. Again, the rulebook is absolutely fantastic for the solo. They're really taking care with the solo rulebook here. And we are looking at, here we go, 26 pages for solo rules. But again, a lot of it is diagrams. And if you know how to play the game, you're just adapting what the simulacrum does. You've then got the forge, which I spoke about. So, well, it gives you some kind of basic setups as well for your simulacrum. Then it gives you forge, which you've got your heat cards and your forge cards and heat cards, right? So forge cards are special cards that modify how the simulacrum behaves. Yeah, and they've got heat cards, and that heat can be hotter or cooler, and it can give you anything from kind of very easy difficulty to nightmare difficulty. And as you adapt the deck, you've also got some trophies you can earn if you beat the simulacrum on those levels. So it gives you a little bit of, not campaign, but it gives you kind of scores to beat, if you like. It tells you what to do with high scores. And there we go, got the pre-built simulacra. So let's talk about this solo mode then. I think it's phenomenal. I think, you know, Richard Wilkins, Ricky Royal is obviously king of solo gaming. Yeah, there's nobody finer in the business than Ricky Royal. He's been doing it, you know, a long time now, and he's a face that many of us turn to watch his playthrough videos, learn how to play games. He's got a wonderful calming voice, but he's obviously a very intelligent guy as well. You know, he has obviously worked with Leader Games. He did the solo for games like John Company's second edition. He's got his own game getting reprinted later this year, which was Renegade. It's now getting called Deckers, and that comes out for Essence as well. And what Ricky did here is, I think he took the time, worked with the guys through their development to create a solo mode which is utterly compelling, where the overhead isn't that great, but it works as an actual opponent as well at the same time. You get those glimpses into what it may be doing. But they're not all glimpses as well, because, you know, certainly as you look in the scheme deck, they all tell you kind of what its potential kind of top area where it's going to put things is going to be. You know, so it says Highlands, you flip it over, you know it's going to be a Highlands card. But some of them, about a third of them, lie to you. So for example, this one says, hey, you know, it's kind of top area where it's going to place its supporters, etc. It's going to be the Highlands. You flip it over, it says plateau on there. So it gives you that kind of bluffing element from some of the stuff that it does as well. The introduction of the fog cards is great. It's utterly fantastic as well, because there's so many fog cards you choose from, and there's so many game bending and simulacrum bending rules that, you know, you're always going to be kind of kept on top of your toes as well. And when we look at the cards that it's going to put in its side of power, you're not going to choose a certain number. It has more from there. You're going to randomly select those. So you've got this ultimate kind of adaptability and variability that's been built into the solo mode. When you add the forge cards in there, you get this probably one of the finest designed solo modes that I've seen in a game. It's, you know, this game would be, oh God, when I first saw this game, you know, so it didn't have a solo mode at that point. I was wondering, how are they ever going to make this into a solo mode? Because Pablo said to me at the beginning, yep, it's our intention to do a solo mode. Then they met Ricky. And over the last couple of years, what this has happened, I say I've seen it through its development, some of it through its development, it's coming to something that's one of the best designed solo modes I've seen in a board game. It's absolutely fantastic, and the overhead is relatively low for the level of complexity and interaction that it gives you. You've got a truly interactive solo mode in the simulacrum, an adaptable solo mode, one that, if you understand the flow of the game, you can understand roughly, you know, more or less how it works, and then within a game or within one game or a couple of rounds, if you like, you're going to really understand how the simulacrum works. I mean, the only thing that may catch you out, and it can certainly catch you out, is just making sure that you follow the simulacrum's order of play. It does things ever so slightly than you might do it. But I think it's an utterly astounding solo mode. It is the solo mode that the game deserves. So going back to the game itself then, it is clearly not going to be a game for everybody. I'm not saying it's niche. I don't think it's niche, and I don't think it's for people who want to play a game a couple of times, teach it a couple of times and then move it on. You're going to get the most out of this game by understanding its nuances. And I think if you play it a couple of times and then, you know, decide it's not for you, you probably haven't got to grips with the nuances. It's totally viable, it's just not your kind of game as well. But in terms of the actual game and the development that's gone into this, you've got these wonderful interlocking mechanisms. You've got the blind bidding. You've got the combat that happens, the area of area control. You've got the kind of deck construction and the mild deck construction. It is mild in terms of, you know, the amount of cards you can get from your sites of power. And you've got the rule bending kingdom cards as well. All of these make for this wonderfully rounded experience if it is your kind of game. So I would, you know, do your research on this game. For me, it's an outstanding game, definitely in the top 5 games of this year. It will be my top 5 games of this year. Got an indication of what's coming out later in the year on certain games, and you know, and obviously the games that I've played so far, and it's definitely right in the top 5. If not, it's currently in my top 3 for the games of this year. That's for damn sure. And you know, it could be unseated a little bit as the year progresses, but we're now in what, June, halfway through the year. It's definitely, I think, going to make its way in the top 5 solo games. I can't wait to play it with other people again. I have played it with other people in its earlier development. I've not played it in its current form. You find the right group. You play with people who understand that, you know, this is a game that you nurture. You have to understand the divergent strategies. You have to understand that losing at the beginning is not the be-all and end-all. There is a way to catch up. You have to manipulate your game to catch up, and you have to be quite aggressive in some terms. In some terms, and if you don't like meanness in your games, then it's probably not going to be a game for you, because the game can be very, very mean. You may think you've got this. Look at this, what I did here, right? So I'd stacked everything up here to kind of make sure that I won that first clash, so I could be in there with the second clash. I've not got my 9 card. I was going to win that, but then they got the deadly card out, and I just obliterated and eliminated my cards. Well, it brought them back into my discard because they got the Pathfinder on there. But yeah, it is a mean game, and if mean games aren't your thing, then maybe it's not for you. But if you're a person that doesn't mind keeping on top of a lot of information, doesn't mind kind of working out those strategies, from a multiplayer perspective, if you suffer from AP, it's probably not going to be your game. You might enjoy the process, but I think the people around the table may not enjoy the process. It might take you quite a while. You know, certainly if you want, I've played with people who've got AP, and some of them wait until it's their turn to decide what is happening, and then the AP kicks in, rather than kind of planning their move as other people are taking their turn. It's rules heavy, but the rules are very well laid out. But if a rules heavy game isn't for you, then, you know, then this is not for you. But for me, it's an absolutely astounding game with probably one of the best designed solo modes I've ever seen in a board game. It's utterly stunning. Richard, just give yourself a massive pat on the back. I think it's absolutely fantastic what you pulled together here. And, you know, I can't wait to play more of your solo modes. It's truly something special. Yeah. Highly anticipated by a lot of people. It's going to be, for me, I think at the end of the year, probably in a lot of people's top 10 games. It's going to be divisive. There are going to be people out there that play it and play it once and think, no, that's absolutely not for me. There's going to be people out there that say, you know, oh, I can't teach this to new people every time. It's not a game to teach new people every time. So it's not for me, and that's fine. But for those of you that want to, you know, as reviewers, we are in a slightly different place, that we play games a number of times. Then, of course, we have something else comes in. We have to concentrate on that. That's not the average board gamer. All right, the average board gamer, yes, we all buy new games all the time, etc. But the average board gamer buys a game because they want to keep playing it. All right, this is a game that you play if you want to keep playing it, and that's the beauty of it, right? It's a game that grows with every time that you play it, and that is just something that you want from a board game, that gives you a different experience, but one that you can tweak, and you're almost close to cracking the code every single game, but something's going to come along and potentially unseat you, and it's how you plan for that. If that excites you like it excites me, then the Old King's Crown is definitely for you. Brilliant game, It's phenomenal solo mode. I'm really blown away by the final version of this, and if you back this game, you should be really excited for it, and I think it's going out to retail later this year. As I say, this is the kind of basic copy. You can get the copy that's got the deluxe components and it's got the expansions in there. I know I'm going to be hunting them down because I want to make this game as joyous as possible. You are probably going to want to get sleeves for the cards as well. I'm not a huge sleever, but given the kind of the nature of the game and how fast you go and how many times you're going to go through the cards, make sure you sleeve them. You don't want to ruin that glorious artwork and give you some telltale signs on some of the cards that are on there. So there we go. I've rattled on enough about the Old King's Crown from Eerie Idol, designed by Pablo Clarke, with the solo mode by Pablo and by Ricky Royal, and the artwork, the wonderful artwork by Pablo Clarke. I can't stop gushing enough about this game, and I know I'm going to play it with people who are going to love it, and I also know I'm going to play it with people who are going to say, yeah, that's just not the game for me. Make sure you do your research, but if it feels like the game for you, you're in for such a treat. Thank you very much for joining me on this rather long journey. I understand there's a lot to go through the Old King's Crown by Eerie Idol Games. Yeah, it's really up there for kind of Game of the Year material for me. Absolutely astounding. My name's Mark. This is Not Bored Gaming. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out our other videos. And one final thought, if you can't find anyone else to play with, then there's nothing wrong with playing with yourselves. Until next time, bye-bye.